Perfect. Let's begin. The objective for today's session is simple. We'll solve questions which are based on algebra. Now, questions which are based out on algebra for specifically about your management examination. Let's talk about your CAT exam. We'll have a couple of important topics. To name a few, the first important topic that will make you go through will be questions and chapters on equation. Is questions and chapters on equation. Followed by that, the second content is going to be on AP and GP, which is called as progression and series. Then the next content that we will make you go through will be on surds and indices. Followed by that, we'll also solve questions on inequalities and logs or logarithm. Now, these are the important sections. Repeat. These are the important sections which comes year on year in the given management examination, specifically with respect to ZAT and CAT, which should be a primary target for the year, whichever year you guys are writing the examination. If you ask me out of all these subjects and topics, tell me the most crucial ones. To name a few, the most crucial one will be equations. Followed by that, the special questions on AP and GP will also be featured here. Okay. In today's session, we'll make you go through the special variety of questions which are only and only on equation. Okay. To categorize equations, you have learned a bit in your school days really well, which was basically categorization of equations on the basis of degree of the equation, which was basically on the level of degree of the equation. On the basis of degree of the equation, you basically have got linear equation, quadratic equation, cubic equation, then biquadratic equation, and followed by that, you can also term them as polynomials also. As polynomials also. Okay. So one way of classification of equations will be on the basis of degree of the equation. Second will be on the basis of number of terms. Second will be on the basis of number of terms. Okay. Now on the basis of number of terms, we know that equations can be classified as either as monomial equation, binomial equation, and again you can consider the remaining to be as polynomial equation. Okay. As far as your CAT exam is going to be concerned, majority of the questions will be asked on binomial expression, followed by that quadratic and cubic. These are the only three variety of questions which comes year on year in the given examination of CAT. In the given examination of CAT. Okay. Now here, the first categorization that we are looking at is basically the types of equation on the basis of number of terms. Okay, where as said, the maximum number of questions which ever will come across in the given exam of CAT will be based on binomial. Will be based on binomial. Okay, we know binomial expression is given by all those expression where you have got only two terms. Let's say a plus b raised to n will be termed as a binomial expression, or you have to work on the expansion part of that also. As simple as if you have a plus b the whole square, we know a plus b the whole square will be nothing but a square plus 2ab plus b square, right? But the kind of question, let me tell you, the kind of question which comes repeatedly in the given examination of CAT will have three kind of questions. Will have three kind of question. The first category of the the first category of question is basically on the number of terms. For example, let's say if I write x plus y plus z raised to 2008, and the question will be find the number of terms. Find the number of terms in the expansion of x plus y plus z raised to 2008. Something like this sort. The second variety of question which comes here will be to find the coefficient of the given term. Will be to find the coefficient of the given term. For example, let's say if I say x plus y whole cube, and if I ask you find the coefficient of x square y, if you know the formula, you will say the coefficient is going to be 3. But on the other hand, if I say x plus y plus z raised to 2008, tell me the coefficient of x raised to 2006, y raised to 1, z raised to 1. Tell me the coefficient of the given. Tell me the coefficient of the given term. So the second type of question that we have to work on is finding the given coefficient of any term. I repeat, finding the given coefficient of any term. And the third type of question will be on finding the sum of all the coefficients. Will be on finding the sum of all the coefficients. For example, if I say a plus b the whole square has how many terms? Has how many terms? It's a square plus 2ab plus b square. And if I ask you find the sum of all the coefficients, it's basically 1 plus 2 plus 1, which is going to be 4. On the other hand, if I ask you a plus b the whole cube, you will say it's nothing but a cube plus 3a square b plus 3ab square plus b cube. And if I ask you find the sum of all the coefficients, you'll say 1 plus 3 plus 3 plus 1 will be the sum of all the coefficients. Likewise, the question that usually gets asked year on year are questions which are based on finding the sum of all the coefficients. So let's say 2x plus y raised to 21. I repeat, 2 raised to y plus 21, and the question is find the sum of all the coefficients of the expansion of this after the expansion of this. So I give you three kind of questions which comes year on year on the basis of types of equation. One is finding the number of terms. I repeat, finding the number of terms. Second is finding the coefficient of the given term of a specific term. And third is finding the sum of all the coefficients. Finding the sum of all the coefficients. These are the only variety of question which comes here on here as far as binomial, Euler, and the polynomial is concerned with respect to identifying any of these three categorized based sums. Okay, let's solve. I hope all of you know the expansion of a plus b raised to n. So we have got a coefficient, we have got the term also, right? So we start with nc0. You are eventually distributing the power of n. I repeat, you are eventually distributing the power of n to the given variables a and b. To the given variables a and b. For example, if you have a plus b the whole square, you first give the entire 2 to a and eventually b got 0. Then a got 1, b got 1, and then eventually a got 0 and b got 2. So all what you can see here is just shifting, shuffling, or transfer of the uh, overall power, which is 2, among the two variables, which is a and b, among the two variables, which is a and b. The sum of all the powers eventually should be equal to the overall power of the given expression, which is 2 plus 0, 1 plus 1, and 0 plus 2 will land up to 2 only. And basically, if you have to find a coefficient of the given term, it starts with nc0 by selecting 0 out of the given number of variables. You basically have n variables here. You had two variables a and b, so I'm selecting 2c0. So a2, b0. Then I'm going to select any one of them, 2c1, a1, b1, and then I'm going to select all of them, 2c2 and cn, which is a0 and b2. Similarly, the expansion of a plus b raised to n will give you nc0, a raised to n, b raised to 0, plus nc1, a raised to n minus 1, b raised to 0, b raised to 1, followed by that nc2, a raised to n minus 2, b raised to 2, and this goes on till the level you don't get ncn, a raised to 0, and b raised to n. I hope this is clear to all of you, right? I hope this is clear to all of you. On the basis of that only, you have got this formula, which is a plus b the whole square. And if I ask you, find a number of terms in a plus b the whole square, you eventually will say a plus b the whole square will have three terms. If you have a plus b the whole cube, people who are live, I want all of you to solve this expression for me, which is a plus b the whole cube. So eventually you will start with 3c0, a cube, b0, followed by that 3c1, a2, b1, then 3c2, a1, b square, and 3c3, a0, b cube, right? I hope all of you got this, which basically became a cube plus 3a square b plus 3ab square plus b cube plus b cube, right? Eventually, the question that we have to solve will be none of these. The actual question which will come in the paper will be none of these. As said, the question type will be x plus y plus z raised to 2008 and find the number of terms in the expansion of x plus y plus z raised to 2008. Raised to 2008. Okay, let me also tell you the kind of question which comes in these management examination. The formats keeps on changing, but the fundamentals are still the same. I repeat, the fundamentals are still the same. For example, the kind of question or any fundamental topic will come in the form of a numerical based question, a diagram based question, a variable based question, or a number diagram variable, or a word or a caselet based question. These are the four formats of the question. For example, let me give you this question: x plus y raised to 7. It's an open question to all of you. Find a number of terms in the expansion of x plus y raised to 7. What would be the answer for this question? Quickly, people who are live, what is going to be the answer for this question? All of you. Give me a second. Okay. All of us know the answer for this question is going to be 8. Perfect. All of us know the answer for this question is going to be 8. On the other hand, if I give you another, this is type 1 question. Type 2 question is x plus y is equal to 8. I repeat, x plus y is equal to 8. And the question to you is find a number of non-negative solutions. The question is find the number of non-negative solutions for x and y. X plus y is equal to 8. Find the number of non-negative solutions for x and y. Again, all of you will tell me the answer is going to be 8 because the possible solution, sorry, I'm sorry, this is going to be 7. Let me make sure both the questions are same. This is x plus y is equal to 7. You will say the solution will be 7, 0, 1, 6, 5, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 5, 6, 1, 0, 7. Non-negative means the whole number solution. 0 is neither positive or negative, but it is non-negative for sure, right? Now, both the kind of question, eventually, if you look into this question, either type 2 or type 1, what's going to happen? You are distributing a value 7. I repeat, you are distributing a value 7 among two variables, which is x and y. You are distributing a value of 7 among two variables, x and y. And how many ways can you do it? You manually solve there 8 ways. Even in the case of x plus y raised to 8, the number of terms, I repeat, the number of terms is going to be dependent on in how many ways can you give 7 chocolates to people, right? As said, 7 is x raised to 7, y raised to 0. You start from here, x raised to 6, y raised to 1, and you land up to the last value x raised to 0, y raised to 7. Again, here, the number of solutions or number of terms both are same. So you got to know that the number of terms and the number of solutions, the number of terms and the number of solutions for both the cases, I repeat, for both the cases are exactly same, Given the case, let's say if you have to solve this question, x plus y raised to x plus y plus z raised to 50. I repeat, x plus y plus z raised to 50. If you have to solve this question, you will say, sir, if this I have to find the number of terms, this is as same as finding the number of non-negative solutions for x plus y plus z raised to 50. This is as same as distributing 50 chocolates to three friends x, y, and z in such a way that one of them can become 0 also. So possible solution will start from 50, 0, 0, and the last solution will be 0, 0, 50. And likewise, how many solutions are possible? The only thing that I have to find here is this. The answer for the number of terms, the answer for number of solutions, both are same. So it is as simple as imagine you've got 50 chocolates. I repeat, you have got 50 chocolates and you have to give it to three friends. The question to me, from my side to you is in how many ways, I repeat, in how many ways can you give 50 chocolates to two, three friends such that any one of them will become 0 also, such that any one of them can become 0 also. Before I solve this question, let me tell you how do I solve the question of the type x plus y the whole square. We know the solution is going to be 3 number of terms, but it's like I have got two chocolates and I have to give it to two friends. I repeat, I have two chocolates and I have to give it to two friends. Tell me how many countings will be required. I repeat, how many countings will be required if you have to give two chocolates to two friends? Question to all. Tell me how many times you have to count the chocolates before giving to two friends. You have got two chocolates. The question to you is How many times will you count before giving two chocolates to two people? If you give x to 1, will you count for y? You will not count for y. If I give 0 to x, will you count for y? You will not count for y. If I give 2 to x, will you count for y? You will not count. So the number of counting is 1 less than the number of people or number of variables. I repeat, the number of counting is 1 less than the number of terms or the people or variables or people who are standing there, right? So I have to count only one. I repeat, the number of countings will be only one. So let's say I've got one blank space. Let's say I've got one blank space and two chocolates. I just have to arrange a set of three. I repeat, I just have to arrange a set of three, two chocolates and one blank in such a way that I get all the possible solutions. I get all the possible solution. So this solution says if I have to visualize, two chocolates has been given to X and zero has been given to Y. If the blank comes between two chocolates, it says one and one has been given to X and Y. However, the blank can go anywhere. The blank or the counting or the dash or partition can go anywhere. It says 0 to X and 2 to Y. So basically, it is like I have got three places and I have to fix the space of the blank. This space of a blank is basically the partition or the counting which I have discussed or the counting which we have discussed. Okay, let's either you can say as dash or let's calculate or let's term this as a stick. So two chocolates and one stick, I've got three places, but I have to select only one place. So my possible solution will be what? 3C1, and hence the number of terms in x plus y the whole square will be 3. If you have a plus b the whole cube, I've got three chocolates and I've got one stick. Overall number of places is 4, and I have to select only one place where the stick can come. So a plus b the whole cube will have 4 terms. Similarly, if I have to find the answer for x plus y plus z raised to 50, the number of chocolates is how much? 50. Number of people is how much? 3. So how many countings will be required? 1 less, which is 2. So how many sticks will be required? 2. So possible number of blanks is 50 plus 2, which is 52. And how many do I have to select? 2 of it. So my possible solution for finding the number of terms of x plus y plus z raised to 50 is nothing but 52C2. All of you got this? Yes or no? Understood? Yes or no? So if I give you this question which came in the year 2008, a plus b plus c plus d raised to 2008, the question is the question is find the number of terms in the expansion of a plus b plus c plus d raised to 2008. What is going to be the answer? A plus, this is actual CAT 2008 question. Answer, all of you. Do not make any mistake in solving this question. Answer from all of you. None of you will make a mistake in solving this question. The answer will be, so there are 2008 chocolates and 4 people. So it's basically 2008 plus number of counting, which is going to be 3 for 4 people, which is 2011 divided by, sorry, it's C. You don't have to select 4. You are selecting only 3 sticks, right? Because 4th automatically will be pre-selected. So the answer for the given question is as simple as 2011 C3. All of you got this? Everyone out here know how to solve the questions on polynomials if the question is about finding the number of terms, right? Yes or no? Perfect. Now the second kind of question which I told you is to find sum of all the coefficient. Sum of all the coefficients. So tell me, what is the sum of all the coefficient for a plus b the whole square? Tell me the sum of all the coefficient for x plus y the whole square. A square 2ab plus b square, which is 4. Tell me the sum of all the coefficient for a plus b the whole cube. Tell me the sum of all the coefficient for a plus b plus c the whole square. Solve this for me. Both the questions, solve this for me. All of you got the answer, right? All of you got the answer. Perfect. The answer for a plus b the whole cube is going to be 8, and a plus b the whole square is going to be 9. If you have to find, now if you have to find, let's say 2x plus y raised to 5, and the question is find the sum of all the coefficient. Let me give you one stop solution. Let me all. Perfect. Yes, Sanket, you're to the point, correct. That's what I was about to come at. So, if the question is about finding the number of terms in any, or finding the sum of all the coefficient for any expression, all what you need to do is substitute 1 and 1, substitute 1, 1, 1, and you will find it. 1 plus 1, the whole square is 2 square, which is 4. 1 plus 1, 2. 2 cube is 8. 1 plus 1 is 3 square, which is 9. So, if I give you 2x plus y, you will say 2 plus 1 raised to 5. 3 raised to 5, the value would be 243. Is this clear? People who are live, is this clear? If the question is about finding the sum of all the coefficient, how to solve? If the question is about finding um, the number of terms in the expression, yes or no? Okay. A plus b plus c plus d raised to 5. What is the sum of all the coefficients of this expression? A plus b plus c plus d raised to 5. What is going to be the sum of all the sum of all the coefficients of the expression? All of you got the answer, right? So it's going to be 4 raised to 5. As simple as. It is going to be 4 raised to 5, and in 4 raised to 5, it's nothing but 2 raised to 10, and 2 raised to 10 is nothing but 1 0 to 4. All of you are right. The answer for the given question is 1 0 to 4. Perfect. And the second type of equation, I repeat, the second type of equation is basically on the level of the degree of the given expression. You categorize the equation as linear equation, quadratic equation, cubic equation, and you've got biquadratic and so on and so forth. The kind of question which usually comes in the given exam of CAT will be based on quadratic or cubic. Will be based on quadratic and cubic equation. Okay. Now we know equation. The degree of the equation is the highest power of any term. I repeat, the degree of the equation is the highest power of any term, right? So if you have x squared minus ax plus b is equal to 0, we usually term this as a quadratic equation. We usually term this as a quadratic equation. If you have x plus y is equal to c, you will term this as a linear equation. If you have got x cube plus 5x square plus 7x plus 6 is equal to 0, you will term this as a cubic expression. Similarly, if 4x raised to 4, 3x cube plus 7x square plus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0, you will term this as a biquadratic equation where the degree is 4. Likewise, it's going to go ahead, right? On the basis of the type of equation, you also find out the number of solutions. You also find out the number of solutions, right? We know linear equation will have only one solution for the given variables of x and y. Quadratic will have two roots or two solutions, which will term this as alpha and beta or a and b. Cubic will have three roots, we'll term this as a, b, and c. And biquadratic will have eventually four roots, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? The one thing which we have learned in our schools specifically, I repeat, one thing which we have learned in our school specifically with respect to quadratic equation based questions was finding the sum of roots and finding the product of the roots. I hope all of you remember finding the sum of the root and finding the product of the roots is given by what? If you have the expression ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0 of any quadratic equation, you understand that the sum of the root, that's how you have learned. Sum of root, which is alpha plus beta, is given by minus b by a, and the product of the roots is usually given by plus c by a. Now, the only thing which I will make you learn, I repeat, the only thing which I'll make you go through is learning it in a different way so that you are able to solve polynomial based questions also. You are able to solve the polynomial based expressions also. Yes. You are also identify, you also would be able to identify the nature of roots and whether the roots are positive or negative. Right? We'll come to it later. But let's say alpha and beta. Alpha plus beta we know is minus b by a, and alpha into beta is plus c by a. It is not going to be termed as sum of roots. I repeat, it is not going to be termed as sum of root. It is not going to be termed as product of roots. So you have only two roots, which is alpha and beta. I repeat, you have got only two roots, which is alpha and beta. So you can say minus b by a is the expression for sum of all the roots taking one at a time. I repeat, just keep one thing in your mind. Minus b by a is the sum of all the possible roots taking one at a time. There are only two roots. If you have to take one at a time, it's going to be alpha plus beta, which is going to be minus b by a. Plus c by a is going to be the sum of all the possible roots taking two at a time. There's only one way in which you can club a and b together or alpha and beta together. It's alpha into beta. So this value is plus c by a. So minus b by a is the expression for sum of all the roots taking one at a time. Plus c by a is sum of all the roots taking two at a time. Now, if you have a cubic expression, let's say ax cube plus bx squared plus cx plus d is equal to 0, right? Here, again, there are three roots. As we know, it's alpha, beta, and gamma. You will say sum of all the roots is given by taking one at a time will be given by alpha plus beta plus gamma. I repeat, alpha plus beta plus gamma. Sum of all the roots taking one at a time is given by minus b by a. Sum of all the roots taking two at a time is alpha beta plus beta gamma plus alpha gamma is going to be given by plus c by a. Third part, sum of all the roots taking three at a time is alpha beta gamma is going to be given by minus d by a. So the sequence of minus b by a plus c by a minus d by a plus c by a, this goes on depending on the number of roots or number of solutions which are possible for the given expression. Clear? So it is not going to be termed as alpha plus beta or sum of root. It is sum of all the roots taking one at a time, two at a time, n at a time, depending on the number of roots which are available. I repeat, depending on the number of roots which are available in the given expression. Okay. Now, for example, if the question is, let's say 5x cube minus 7x squared plus 6x plus 4 is equal to 0. And this equation will have three roots alpha, beta, and gamma. The question to you is, find a sum of 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta plus 1 by gamma. Tell me the answer for the given equation. It's an open question to all of you, so please solve it fast. Do we have the answer for the given question? Okay. So if you generally have to solve 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta plus 1 by gamma, you will say the LCM is going to be alpha beta gamma. The numerator is going to be beta gamma plus alpha gamma plus alpha beta. This basically is sum of all the roots taking 2 at a time divided by sum of all the roots taking 3 at a time. 2 at a time is going to be given by minus b by a, so it's going to become 7 by 5 plus 7 by 5. And 3 at a time, sorry, my bad. So 2 at a time is going to be given by plus 6 by 5, and 3 at a time will be given by 4 by 5. 5 will get cancelled, so the answer will be 6 by 4 or 3 by 2 or 3 by 2. The answer is going to be plus 3 by 2. So 1 at a time is minus b by a, 2 at a time is plus c by a, and 3 at a time is minus d by a. My bad. So it's going to be minus 4. The final answer will be minus 3 by 2. Minus 3 by 2. Clear? All of you, is this clear? Okay.
So that the roots part, that alpha beta and beta gamma and alpha gamma.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't understand the exact. How did you get the C by A and minus D by A?
Which part? This part.
Yeah, the 1, 2, 3, the three
Yeah, yeah.
subsections.
So
Yeah.
what did I tell you? So you don't have to. The school level math that we have done, no, in our schooling has.
Sure.
So they plugged one thing in the brain, that it was sum of root and this is product of the root.
Yes, sir.
If you can recall,
Yes,
minus
yes.
b by a and plus c by a. Basically, this is for the quadratic equation which has only two roots.
Yes.
That's what I'm telling you. The only thing which you have to change the way you are learning is, this is not the sum of roots. This is sum of all the roots taking two at a time.
Okay.
Okay. Eventually, there are only two roots. So the only way in which you can write one at a time is alpha plus beta.
Yes, sir.
And this is sum of all the roots taking two at a time. Two at a time. The only roots is alpha and beta. The only way in which you can write it together is alpha into beta. But
Yes, sir.
imagine if there are three roots, alpha, beta, and gamma. How can you write sum of all the roots taking one at a time? Alpha plus beta plus gamma. This will also be minus b by a. Clear?
Yes,
Sum of
sir.
roots taking two at a time. So I have to select two of them. So you will say alpha, beta, beta, gamma, and alpha, gamma. Right?
Yes, sir.
And third, all of them together is alpha into beta into gamma. Clear? The sequence
Yes.
will just go on. So it's minus b by a plus c by a minus d by a minus c by, likewise. If it is biquadratic, it's going to go till e. Is this clear? Any doubt?
Yes, sir. So if there are four roots, if there are four variables, then it becomes E by A.
E by a. Perfect. And that time, if you have like this, let's say 1 by a plus 1 by b plus 1 by c plus 1 by d. How would you solve? Again, the LCM is going to be a, b, c, d. Sum of all the roots taking 4 at a time. And the
Yes.
above
So E by
will be
A.
b, c, d, which is sum of all the roots taking 3 at a time.
Correct.
Clear?
Yes,
Sum
sir.
of all the roots taking 3 at a time is minus d by a. And sum of all the roots taking 4 at a time is plus e by a. A will get cancelled at that point of time.
Minus D by E.
Clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now, next part, if someone asks you how many positive and negative roots are there for the given expression. Let's say if I use same. Let's say x square minus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. The equation is x square minus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. And the question to you is, find the roots of the equation. What are the roots of this equation? What is going to be the roots of this equation? Quickly. A very simple equation, right? The root is going to be 2 and 3. And if I ask you how many positive roots are there? How many positive roots are there for the given expression? There are 2. So the number of positive roots is given by the notation of sign change. So it's here. So you have got plus x squared minus 5x plus 6. Plus 2 minus, there's one sign change. Minus 2 plus, there's second sign change. Depending on the number of sign changes, you have got that many positive roots. Overall, there are 2 roots and there are 2 sign changes, which means both the roots will be positive and there are 0 negative roots. And there will be 0 negative roots. On the other hand, If you have 5x cube minus 7x squared minus 6x plus 4 is equal to 0, and the question is find, so this equation will have three roots, and the question is find the number of positive roots and number of negative roots. As said, it's going to be dependent on the sign change mechanism. You count the number of times the signs have been changed. Plus to minus one change, minus to minus no change, minus to plus one more change. So there are 2 times sign changes out of 3 roots, which basically means out of 3 roots, 2 of them are positive, 1 is negative. Clear? Everyone, is this clear? People out here, is this clear? So you can also find the number of positive roots and the number of negative roots for the given equation. Hardik, as said, the only thing which you have to work on is finding the number of times signs has been changed. Signs have been changed. Let's say 4x raised to 4 minus 3x cube plus 7x squared plus 5x minus 6 is equal to 0. There will be 4 roots of because of the degree 4. And the question, Hardik, is find the number of positive roots and negative roots. This is plus. Plus to minus, one change. Minus to plus, second change. Plus to plus, no change. Plus to minus, third change. So out of 4 roots, you found 3 sign changes. So there are 3 positive roots and 1 negative root. Is this clear, Hardik?
Sir, can you once again explain how we have solved that 1 upon alpha plus 1 upon beta plus 1 upon gamma, that question?
Okay, let's say I give you this question, be online. X squared minus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. Okay, and the question to you is this equation will have 2 roots alpha and beta. Find a value of 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta. This is the question. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
This is the question which you have got. Okay. One way to solve this practically finding out the roots of the given equation, right? We'll say this is x squared minus 3x minus 2x plus 6 equals 0, which is x minus 3, x minus 2 is equal to 0. So the value of x is 3, 2.
Yes, sir.
You will substitute the value is like this 1 by 3 plus 1 by 2, right?
Yeah.
Which is going to become 5 by 6. But other way around, you can, if you have to solve this expression 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta, this is nothing but the denominator will be alpha beta and the numerator will be alpha plus beta. Right?
Yes,
And
yes.
what you have learned, this is sum of root which is given by minus b by a, and this is product of root which is given by c by a. So basically a will get cancelled, the final answer is going to be minus b by c.
Okay.
If you don't do like this, the answer is going to be plus 5 by 6.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah? On the other hand, if you have 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta plus 1 by gamma now, right? So this time we have got alpha, beta, and gamma together. This is sum of all the roots taken 3 at a time. Okay?
Yes.
Which is given by minus d by a, which just discussed. And the numerator will become beta gamma, alpha gamma, and alpha beta. Which is sum of roots taken 2 at a time, given by minus b by a.
Okay.
Minus, sorry, it's plus c by a. Plus c by a. Clear?
Yeah.
Understood? Surely you have understood this?
Yes.
Do you want me to re-explain? I can do that. Provided you tell me. You guys have to tell me upfrontly without keeping any hesitation.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. And the question could be anything here. The question could be 1 by alpha square plus 1 by beta square. The question could also be like this. How would you solve this? The denominator is going to will become alpha square beta square the whole square, which is alpha beta raised to 4. And the numerator will become alpha square plus beta square. How would you solve this? This is a square plus b square. A square plus b square eventually will be a plus b the whole square minus 2ab. This is what we have to solve in this question. अगर मान लो ऐसा question आया तो this is sum of root taking 1 at a time, square the value, sum of root taking 2 at a time, multiply by 2, divide by product of the root and raised to 4. Clear? Just the expressions are changing, but the way of solving is not going to change. Okay. There's the first question. This is CAT 1996, age-old question. Seems to be an easy question, which is based on linear equation. I want all of you to solve this question. Please go ahead. Is there anyone who can help me out with making me understand how do you take the attendance in the Google Meet sessions? Only for those who have solved the question. I got two answers by Adesh and Rohit. Everyone else, quickly, it's going to be an easy question, not that difficult. The question says, once I had been to the post office to buy stamp of 5 rupees, 2 rupees and 1 rupees. I've paid to the clerk 20 rupees. Since I did not had any change, he gave me 3 more stamps of 1 rupee. The question says, if the number of stamps of each type that I ordered initially was more than 1 at least, which means the minimum number of stamps that you need to carry now is going to be 2, not 1. The question is, find the total number of stamps that I carried initially. So you have got 5 rupee stamp, you have got 2 rupee stamp, and you've got 1 rupee stamp. Total you have to compensate 20 rupees. Total you have to compensate 20 rupees, but because of no change available, you basically got 3 more stamps for 1 rupee each, which means 3 can be subtracted and solve this expression. 5 hour, 2 hour, 1 hour should be equal to 17. Now the minimum number of stamps that I need to collect is going to be 222. The minimum number of stamps that I need to collect is going to be 2, right? The available option with number of 5 rupee stamp is going to be either 2 or 3. But if I select 3 stamps of 5 rupees, I'm going to compensate of 15 rupees. I'll be left with only 2 rupees. In 2 rupees, I have to collect 2 rupee stamp and 1 rupee stamp also, which is never possible, right? Because minimum 2 rupees ka 2 stamp and 1 rupees ka 2 stamp I would have to take, which means the only solution left for 5 rupees stamp is 2 stamps. 5 2s is 10. Chuck off 10 from this. The leftover value will be 7. In 7, you are selecting or taking 2 rupee stamp and 1 rupee stamp. 2 rupee stamp plus 1 rupee stamp is equal to 7. Now, 2 rupee stamp, you can either select 2 or 3. But if you select 3, you would have to check off 6 rupees. The available value will be only 1, which will ensure that you can select only 1 rupee stamp, which is not possible. You have to select at least 2. So 3 cannot come on 2. It can compensate only and only 2 stamp. 2 2s is 4. If I remove 4 from this, the leftover value will be 3. So eventually, 3 2 rupee stamp, 3 1 rupee stamp, 2 2 rupee stamp, 2 10 rupee stamp is what I have selected. So 2 plus 2 plus 4 will become how much? This is going to give you 7. But dude, you also got 3 more stamps of 1 rupee towards the end. So the total number of stamps which I'm having as of now in the end will be 10. The answer for the given question is going to be 10. I repeat. The answer for the given question is going to be 10. All of you got this? Everyone, is this clear? All of you got this? If there's any single doubt, please be upfront. I don't keep any hesitation with respect to not telling me if you are not able to solve. If you're able to solve, I really appreciate. Perfect. Next question, the year 1998. Please solve this question. You can select rubies and emeralds as much as possible. Each ruby is worth for 4 crore and emerald is worth for 5 crore. Each ruby is going to weight 0.3 kg and emerald is going to weight 0.4 kg. The bag that you have got can carry maximum of 12 kgs. What you should collect to get the maximum wealth? To get the maximum wealth. See, so ideally what we can see here, let's say the number of rubies is R and the number of emerald is E. The weight of each ruby is 0.3 R plus 0.4 R is equal to 12. This is one of the equation which you can make. 0.3 R plus 0.4 E is equal to 12. At the same time, you have to maximize the wealth. So the maximization of wealth is going to come 4 crore into number of rubies plus 5 crore into number of emerald. This you have to maximize. You don't have a value, you have to maximize. One way to solve this by using options, but there's also an option called as none of these. None of these could be more than 40 or one of the options which is highest among these three. So you cannot use options. I repeat, you cannot use options to solve this question. Please solve this question. Please solve this question. Do we have the answers out for this question? I can see Ketki has given the answer as B. I would urge Ketki if you can have a discussion with all of us. How did you solve the question? And we'll check whether the answer is right or wrong. Yes, can you? Ketki, do you wish to?
I'm not sure. I actually use knapsack approach here.
Which approach?
Knapsack problem.
Okay. Go ahead. You can explain what you want.
So I divided 12 by 0.3 and 12 by 0.4. So it gives that 40 by 3 is 13, 13 and something. So that is more. Then I divided 12 by 0.3, which gives 40.
Yes. So eventually you got to know that the number of rubies should be more than the number of emeralds if you want to maximize the wealth.
Yes.
The only end of the given expression which you have told that I can get or gauge is number of ruby is going to be more than the number of emerald. But then how did you finally point out to the answer that it's going to be 40 rupees and 0 emerald?
Because it is completely divisible, 12 by 0.3. If it was not divisible completely and if some more space was left in the bag, then we could have added emerald.
So, ideally, we got to know that the number of rupees is going to be more than the number of emeralds for sure, right? If I have to do this by using the given expression, we do 0.3 R plus 0.4 E is equal to 12. So possibly ruby in terms of emerald will become 12 minus 0.4 E divided by 0.3, right?
Yes.
If I put here the equation number 2, this is going to become 4 times 12 minus 0.4 E divided by 0.3 plus 5E. This is going to be maximized, right? This is to maximize. But if you look at this expression, if you genuinely look at this expression, you yourself will get to know that if you increase the value of E, the maximum wealth will be less than the value that we are expecting. Imagine if I put the value of E to be 0. Imagine if I put the value of E to become 0, it's going to give you how much? 12 divided by 0.3, which is 40. 40 into 4 will give you 160.
160.
Right? But on the other hand, if you keep the value of E as 1, it's going to become 12 minus 0.4 divided by 0.3 into 4 plus 5 into 1. If you do that, the value should be close to 155 or 156, which means the more the number of emerald which I can take, the lesser is going to be total wealth. which again gives you a hint that the number
Excuse
of
me, sir. Your voice is not clear.
can you hear me?
Sir, your
Hello.
voice is not clear, sir.
I I don't think so. There's any difficulty from my side. Is it clear now?
The voice is echoing, sir.
Oh my goodness. Hello, can you hear me now? Hello, hello. I would have to check what is the availability now. Hello, can you guys hear me now?
So still not clear.
Oh God.
Sir, you are audible, but your voice is echoing.
I would have. I'm checking the connectivity. I do not think so. There's any issue with connection. Can you hear me now well? Or is it still the same? Hello? Hello? Hello?
So still it's echoing.
God. Is it better now? Can you all hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir,
Hello?
it is better now.
It's better? All of you are able to hear me?
No, sir, still echoing a bit.
Let's give it some time. Let me know if you are unable to catch up with the question. Then I'll take a pause. If not, let's continue doing the question. I guess in next 1 or 2 minutes it should become fine. If you got this question by the way, everyone. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
I cannot see anyone who's live. I guess everyone's here, right? People out here are still there, right? Hello. 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 Hello.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
You guys can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All of you got the question by the way?
So your voice is still not clear, but
Hello. Is it better or is it still the same? It's still the same. Give me a second. Let me use my mic if that helps. Can you all hear me now? Yeah, right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes,
Yes, sir.
Just a second. Okay. Do we have the answer for the given question? So we got to know that the value of E has to be minimum. And the minimum value of what E can take is basically as simple as making it 0. And the entire weight of 12 kg can be filled with rubies to make it maximum. So if you divide 0.12 by 0.3, the value will become as simple as 40, which give you a hint that 40 rupees can give you the maximum. I repeat, 40 rupees can give you the maximum wealth, which will not come even if you select 15 emerald or 9 emerald, and none of these also goes out. Is this clear? This was also a fairly easy question and a topic, which all of us have solved it well. Everyone, is this clear? Could you guys give me a hint? All of you have learned this, right? And we are good to go, right? Shall we take the next question based on this?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. All right,
Yes,
you can
sir.
see the question. The question says, if the equation x cube minus ax square plus bx minus a, x cube minus ax square plus bx minus a has 3 real roots, which of the following necessarily have to be correct? Which of the following necessarily have to be correct? Which of the following necessarily have to be correct? I hope all of you can see the question well. X cube minus ax square plus bx minus a is equal to 0 has 3 real roots. Which of the following has to be correct? How would you solve this? See, the easiest way, you can substitute the value and you will get to know. I repeat, the easiest way is you can substitute the value and you yourself will get to know. And the simplest value that always you can put is either 0 or 1. I repeat, the simplest value which you can ever put is either 0 or 1, which is going to make it more clear for you to which option can be the answer, which option cannot be the answer. Basically, if I have to generalize the given expression, so it says x cube minus ax square plus bx minus a is equal to 0. Take x square common, x minus a plus b x minus a is equal to 0. Now if I put the value of b as 1, I repeat, if I put the value of b as 1, this is going to become x square x minus a plus x minus a is equal to 0. If you take x minus a as common, it's going to become x minus a in bracket x square plus 1 will become 0. I repeat, this is what a general expression would be. X minus a, x square plus 1 is equal to 0, which will give you either x is equal to a. I'm okay with this. So 1 real root for sure is going to come. But what about x square plus 1 is equal to 0? This gives you a hint. X square is equal to minus 1. I repeat, x square is equal to minus 1 and the value of x is root of minus 1, right? Which is going to give you an imaginary root, So you found imaginary roots by putting the value of b is equal to 1, which will give you a clear hint that among the following, one thing which needs to be correct to give you a real root solution will be b should not be equal to minus 1. B should not be equal to 1. Is this clear to all of you? Everyone, is this clear? Sanket, you told me answer is B, answer is C. You put the value of B, I am sure you got the expression as minus 1, but you don't have to make a mistake. The question is not which of them is wrong. The question is which of them is correct. So B equal to 1 is going to be wrong, and B not equal to 1 will be correct. Next question. This seems to be a silly question. Come on. All of you have to solve this question. M is the smallest integer, smallest possible integer, such that for any integer m is more than or equal to n, the given quantity n cube minus 7n square plus 11n minus 5 is equal to 0. The question is, what is the value of m? The question is, what is the value of m? So you first have to find out the minimum value of n on which the whole expression will be positive or will be equal to 0. So tell me, on what value of n, I repeat, on what value of n do you think the overall expression will become 0 or at least positive?
So n is equals to 1.
Tell me. For 1 it's 0. Perfect. What about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Go on, Rohit, and tell me on what value, I repeat, on what value of n do you get the whole expression either to become 0 or it becomes positive? For 2 it's negative. Good. Go on. 3, 4, 5, 6. So the first objective itself is finding out the value of n which will make it either 0 or positive. See, 11n minus 5 will not be much. I mean, there's easy way to first look into the expression of n cube minus 7n square. So you solve n cube minus 7n square on one side and then 11n minus 5 on the other side. You will get to know very easily for what value of n the whole expression will become either 0 or positive. Prathamesh, did you check for 6? Did you check for 6, Prathamesh? Till 5 you did, right? If you do that, you will get to know any value of n which is more than or equal to 5. Any value of n which is more than 5 will make the whole expression to be positive. Will make the whole expression to be positive. So it's basically 216 minus 36 into 7 plus 66 minus 5. Is 5 positive or 5 is 0? Tell me. 5 cube is 125 minus 7 into 49 plus 11 into 5 minus 5.
7 into 25, sir.
What is the value of the whole expression when n was equal to 5? N was equal to 5. What is the value of the whole expression when n was equal to 5? Quickly. Now, I don't know why you guys are taking much time in this question. For 5 it's 0. Got to know. Perfect. So for 5 it's 0. We want it to be positive. So as said, any value of n which is more than 5 will make it positive. The smallest value of n which is more than 5 will be equal to 6. So from n equal to 6 onwards, from n is equal to 6 onwards, all the values is going to be positive. But is the question about n or is the question about m? The question is about m and not n. The relationship between m and n is m is more than or equal to n. Now tell me, what is the smallest value of m which is possible for this question? Tell me, what is the smallest value of m which is possible for this equation, for this question? How can you solve this? You got the answer. M can also be equal to n. N, the lowest value is 6, so M can also be 6. You will mark none of these, or why will you mark 8 as the answer? You will mark none of these, right? Why will you mark 8? Why will you mark 8? You will mark 6 as the answer and not 8. It says M is greater than or equal to M. N. Greater than or equal to. The smallest value of n which you are considering is? The smallest value which you are considering for n is 6. So M can also be equal to 6. Everyone got the answer? Perfect. Next question. This is a silly question. Please solve the question which you can see on the screen. Please solve this question. Pratmesh, these not the answer. Solve this question, please. Everyone, do we have the answer out? Do we have the answer? Or we are unable to solve? What is happening? Yes, do we have the answer? See, I mean, this is a very standard question which can be solved by using substitution. 1 into 1 into 1 is equal to 1. It has not been said PQR should be distinct.
It's not been said you have to keep the values of ABC or PQ to be distinct. Just put the values 1 divided by 1 plus 1 plus 1, 1 divided by 1 plus 1 plus 1, 1 divided by 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is going to be 3 upon 3, which is equal to 1. Which option gives you 1? Which option gives you 1? Come on, which option gives you 1? If I am expecting answer from all of you, come on. The answer is, so why do we have to worry about it, right? Had it been 2 options which is giving you 1, then I would have manually solved the question. Then I would have manually simplified the option, right? So D and C, you are saying, is D also giving you the same answer? D is giving you 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is 3. Clear? So it's going to be option C. It's going to be option C and not option D. I hope it is clear, right? All of you. Solve this question, please. P and Q be the roots of the quadratic equation x square minus alpha minus 2 x minus alpha minus 1. What is the minimum possible value of P square plus Q square? This is 2003 CAT. All of you have the question, right? This is one of those question type that we have seen before we started solving the concept today. So I'll give you a minute to think, comprehend, and then boil down to the answer. How should we solve this question? Yes. Do you want me to solve the question? Do you want us to solve the question together? Or you guys can take it on your own? I want participation from all of you. Do you want? You are saying it's D. Okay. Of course. Ketki, take a minute of your time. Shruti also got D. See, let's say if P and Q are the roots of the equation, obviously P square plus Q square will be nothing but P plus Q the whole square minus 2PQ. This is sum of root taking 1 at a time, sum of root taking 2 at a time, which basically will become A minus 2 the whole square minus 2 times minus A minus 1. This value have to be minimized. Let's see what the value is about. It's A square minus 4A plus 4 plus 2A plus 2, which will become A square minus 2A plus 6 is equal to 0, is what the expression is. So we got to know that P square plus Q square is nothing but A square minus 2A plus 6, right? And how do you find a minimum value of any quadratic expression? My question to you is, I got to know the expression of P square plus Q square. My question to you is, how do you find a minimum value of the expression? One way is like substituting minus B by 2A. One way is actually going ahead with the trial and error method. Keep on putting 0, 1, -1, and you will get to know the trend. But there's also a way in which you can club the first two terms. You can club the first two terms and make it a perfect square. So if I have to make it a perfect square, it's a square minus 2a. Take the coefficient of the middle term, which is 2. Take the coefficient of the middle term, which is 2, and reduce by 2, which is 1. So just write 1 square minus 1 square. I repeat, a square minus 2a plus 1 square minus 1 square is same. Both can be nullified. So I'm putting the expression like this. But this term, a square minus 2a plus 1 square, is nothing but a minus 1 the whole square. How do you get this? Take a the first term, the middle sign minus, and take the last term. A minus 1 the whole square minus 1 square plus 6. This is what the answer would be. Now the minimum value which is possible for a minus 1 the whole square would be 0. So the minimum possible value is minus 1 plus 6, which is 5. And hence, you will mark 5 as the answer. Is this clear? Everyone, is this clear? Understood? Do you want me to re-explain the part of minimizing the value? Minimizing the expression is always take the first two terms, try to make it a perfect square by taking the coefficient of the second term, reduce by 2. So a square minus 2a plus 1 square plus minus 1 square. Club the first three. This is going to become a minus 1 the whole square, and the remaining two values will be a numerical term. This whole thing can become 0. Minus 1 plus 6, the minimum value is going to be 5. All of you got this? Is this clear? Let's take the next question now. Solve this question. 2005 question of CAT. I want all of you to look into this and help me out. I'll give you a minute to think, to comprehend what the question is, and then we'll have a discussion. I hope all of you can see the question. I repeat, I hope all of you can see the question and help me out with the answer for this question. Help me out with the answer for the given question. Come on. Take a minute and try to solve the question. These are pattern-based questions, I repeat. These are pattern-based questions which comes in CAT year on year. How shall we solve this question? Okay, let me give you a very simple perspective of solving the question. The whole expression, if you look into, is x is equal to root of 4 plus root of 4 minus root of 4 plus root of 4 and goes on. This goes till infinite. This goes till infinite, right? Now the only thing which I want you to actually look into, I repeat, The only thing which I want you to look into is, can you break down the sum? Okay. Had it been the case, I repeat, had it been the case, the question is only till here. You will say the answer would be root of 4 plus something. Root of 4 will give you the answer as 2 plus something, which means the minimum lower limit of the given expression will be 2 plus, which means the answer is above 2. The answer is more than 2. Now let's understand if the value of the expression is only till here, which is root of 4 plus root of 4 minus something. So first you will solve the internal root, which is root of 4, which will give you 2. 2 plus 4 will make it 6, so it is 6 minus something. Whatever is there next to it, I'm going to consider it to be something, x, y, a, b, c. Now what is the value of root of 6? What is the closest value of root of 6? Now if I have to teach you how to find the value of any non-perfect square, we know root of 6 is going to be between root of 4 and root of 9. I repeat, root of 4 is going to be between root of 4, 6 is between 4 and 9. Root of 4 is 2, so it is 2 plus. Take the difference of 2 and 6, 4 and 6, which is 2. Divide by the difference of 4 and 9, which is 5. 2 by 5 is 0.4, and the closest value of root of 6 is 2.4. It's 2.4, the next sign is negative, which means the answer is going to be between 2 and 2.4. All of you got this mechanism? The answer for the given question is going to be between 2 and 2.4. Always it's going to be between 2 and 2.4. Now the only thing which you have to work around is just check the option quickly. 3 is not possible. The value of root of 13. What is the value of root of 13? It's between root of 9 and root of 16. Root of 9 is 3 plus difference of 9 and 13 is 4. Difference of 9 and 16 is 7. So it's 3 plus 4 by 7. 4 by 7 is close to 0.5. So the closest value is going to be close to 3.5. 3.5 is also more than 2.5 or 2.4. This goes out. There are only two options available. Option number B, the root of 13, we got the value as 3.5. It says 3.5 minus 1 divided by 2, which is 2.5 divided by 2, which is 1.25, which is less than 2. We know the answer is going to be more than 2. So this also goes out. So the final answer is going to be 13 plus 1 by 2, which is 3.5 plus 1 divided by 2. 4.6, sorry, it's 4.5 divided by 2, which is 2.25. 2.25 perfectly fits into the range of 2 and 2.4. So you will mark C as the answer. Is this clear? You need to think non-conventional. You don't have to walk around with again making an equation by generalizing. So x is equal to root of 4 plus root of 4 minus x. You will make it as a biquadratic equation, which is not required. I repeat, you will make it as a biquadratic equation if you solve by using expression. Is this clear to all of you? Everyone. So you work around with options, you will get it very smartly and quickly. Solve this question, please. The price of Darjeeling tea in rupees per kg is 100 plus 0.1 N on the nth day of 2007. What is the value of N? So on 1st January, the value of N is going to be 1. Second day, second, and this is going to go till 100th day. And then remains constant. So there's a flat curve which comes after the 100th day. On the other hand, the price of OTT is going to be 89 plus 0.15 N on the nth day of 2007, which is the value of N has the limits of 1 to 365. On which date of 2007 will the prices of both the two varieties of tea be equal is the question. Some of the people actually will misconstrue the question and they'll solve the question by making the first expression. So there are two things. One is Darjeeling, second is OT. Some people think it is 100 plus 0.10 N and OT on the other side is 89 plus 0.15 N. The limits of N here is 1 to 365. The limits of N is from 1 to 100. Some people get confused and they think I have to equate both of them. But you don't have to equate both of them. Why? Because the difference of 189 is not much. And after the 100 day, there's a flat curve. So if I have to make a graph for Darjeeling tea, it's going to go up till 100 and it's going to become flat. For OTT, it's going to go from here and it's going to go like up till the end of the year. So once the curve has been flattened, then it's going to meet, which means the maximum value of Darjeeling tea I can find out. I can find out the maximum value of Darjeeling tea by putting the value of n as 100. So 100 into 0.1 plus 100. This is going to become 100 plus 10, which is going to become 110. This is equal to 89 plus 0.15 n. 89 plus 0.15 n. And I mean, this is the question which is far more below the caliber that we have got, right? Solving a question like this is not what we can expect from CAT, right? But they give you a question like this. I repeat, they give you a question like this. The only thing which you have to solve here is 89 plus 1.15 n is equal to 110. So 0.15 n, 11, okay, this is going to become 21. Just solve this much. If you solve this, you will get the value of n as 140. The question is, what date of the calendar year will be the 148 day? I mean, this is far more below than what we have thought of. Looks complex, but it is as simple as one equation, 89 plus 0.15 n is equal to 110. That's it. Ronit, tell me which date of the calendar year is going to be the 148 day. All of you are right. The answer is 28th May. And this is how, I mean, you can make it complex and either you, or else you can make it simple. The way you are thinking, the way you have the thought process of solving the question, everything is going to be aligned to it. I repeat, every fucking thing is going to be aligned to it. It's a simple examination. You have to think with all the possible simplicity to solve the given paper. Shall we take the next question? Shall we take the next question? Solve this. If the roots of the equation x cube minus ax square plus bx minus c is equal to 0 are three consecutive integers, what is the smallest value possible for b? What is the smallest value possible for b? Come on, solve this question, please. Help me out with the answer. How shall we solve the question? So they are saying the roots of the expression x cube minus ax square minus bx plus minus c is equal to 0 has three consecutive integers. How do you note the three consecutive integers in the numerical form? Consider it to be n minus 1, n, and n plus 1. And n plus 1. Of the given expression, I told you the value of b here. This is sum of root taking 1 at a time. This is 2 at a time. This is 3 at a time. So this part b is nothing but sum of all the roots taking 2 at a time. And how do you write sum of roots taking 2 at a time? Here, it's n into n minus 1 plus n into n plus 1 plus n minus 1 into n plus 1 will be equal to b. This is the value of b. Basically, if you solve this, n square minus n plus n square plus n plus n square minus 1 square plus n square minus 1 square will become what? This is going to be equal to, this is going to be equal to b. So what is the final expression which is going to remain in the end? If you solve this, the final expression is going to become n square minus 1, which is equal to b, which means the value of b is nothing but n square minus 1. This is the expression, and you have to minimize this. How can you minimize this? By making the perfect square as 0. If you make the value of n square as 0, b will have the minimum value of minus 1, which will mark as option number B. Is this clear to all of you? Is this clear to all of you? If there's anyone who has not understood, please tell me upfrontly. Do not hesitate. It's for your own concern. You are more concerned about your examination than what anyone else could be. Clear? All of you got this? My bad. Okay, so the value will be 3n square minus 1. My bad. The overall expression will be 3n square minus 1. But even for 3n square, if you put n as 0, its whole thing is going to become 0 only. Good point, Anand. But again, the overall answer will be 1, 0 minus 1, which is minus 1. So still you will mark B as the answer. It should be 3n square minus 1. Clear? All of you got this? Shall we take the next question? APGP, I'll take it next time. Solve this question, please. Year 2013, not very old question. The coefficient of a raised to 12, b raised to 8 in the expansion of a square plus b raised to 13 is equal to what? A raised to 12, b raised to 8. It's a raised to 12, b raised to 8 in the expansion of a square plus b raised to 13. Is equal to what? It's a very silly question. It's going to be a very, very silly question. Ideally, anyone will not take more than 5 or 7 seconds to solve the question. None of you will ideally take more than 7 seconds to solve the question. The answer for the given question is none of these. I'll tell you why. If you have a plus b the whole square, you said the expression is a square b0 plus 2a1 b1 plus b2 a0. The sum of power of individual variables will add up to the total power, right? Can you all see this? Can you all see this? The sum of individual powers of the individual variables is equal to the total power, right? Which is a plus b the whole square. Here the overall expression is a square plus b raised to 13. So the first term is a square and the second term is b. There are two terms. One is a square, second is b. If you have to rewrite this in the form of a raised to 12 and b raised to 8, you will say this is a square raised to 6 and b raised to 8. But ideally, if you match the power, 6 plus 8 is becoming 14 and here it is 13, which means there will be no such term. I repeat, there will be no such term in the expansion of a square plus b raised to 13. So the answer will be none of these cannot be determined, whatever comes up. A square plus b raised to 13. You want a square, a raised to 12, b raised to 8. So it's a square raised to 6 and b raised to 8. Plus 6 plus 8 is becoming 14. It is not matching with the power of 13. So it's wrong. It's a question itself is wrong. Intentionally, the question has been put wrong. I repeat, intentionally, the question has been put wrong. I repeat, intentionally, the question has been put wrong. If I have to redo the question was find the coefficient of a raised to 12 and b raised to 8 in the expansion of a raised to 2 plus b raised to 13. So basically, the overall expression is a square plus b raised to 13. And the question what they are asking you is to find the coefficient of a raised to 12 and b raised to 8, actual calc 2013 question. If you rewrite this in the original term form, it's a square and this is a raised to 12. So this is going to become a2 raised to 6 and the b will become b raised to 8 only. This is what the overall term is becoming. But as we know, the sum of power of the individual variables should add up to the total power of the whole expression. 6 plus 8 is actually becoming 14, but the expression has the power of 13, which is not matching. So there will be no such term which will have a12 and b8 as the given term. And if there's no such term, how can you find a coefficient? And hence the answer for the given question is cannot be determined. I hope this is clear to all of you. Is this clear to all of you? Shall we take the next question? Everyone, is this clear? Shall we take the next question? Solve this question. At the beginning of the class, I told you there are three kinds of questions. One, which are based on polynomials or any form of equation. One, finding the number of terms in the given expansion or given binomial or polynomial expansion. That's one. Second, finding the coefficient of the given term. Third, finding the sum of all the coefficients. Find the sum of all the coefficients of quickly. I mean, it's a matter of 5 seconds now. You know the technique. All what you will do now is, if you always have to find the sum of all the coefficient, substitute x as 1 and x as 1. This is going to become 0, 0. This is going to become 0 and hence the sum of all the coefficients should be equal to 0. A matter of 5 seconds, 2014 question. Provided you knew the concept, you can solve it way much more faster than what is required to clear the paper. Is this clear? Pradnya, Bhushan, Pratmesh, Ketki, Ninad, everyone. It's not a question worth solving also, no? I repeat, it's a question not worth solving also. So you need to be aware. Okay, next question, 2015. Come on, take this question. X raised to 4 minus y raised to 4 is 15, where x and y are the natural numbers. Find the value of the expression x raised to 4 and y raised to 4. Original Cal 2015 question, not very old question. Provided if you solve the question by simplicity, you will not take more than 10 seconds. Provided you solve the question by with the minimal expectation which I can keep from you, you will not take max to max, you will take 15 seconds to solve the entire question. So they're saying x raised to 4 minus y raised to 4 is equal to 15, which is nothing but x square, the whole square minus y square, the whole square is equal to 15, right? And we know it's nothing but x square plus y square into x square minus y square is equal to 15. There are two ways in which you can write 15. One is 3 into 5. Second is 15 into 1. The only point which you have to check, I repeat, the only point which you have to check whether you have to go ahead with this or this. Ideally 15 and 1 it is not possible because here x square plus y square you are terming it as 15 and x square minus y square you are terming it as 1. Okay, so now if you add both, this is going to become 2x square is going to become 16 and x square is equal to 8. X square is equal to 8, you will not get any integer here. So this is not possible. So the only possible solution, all of you are right. X square plus y square is equal to 5 and x square minus y square is equal to 3. If you solve this, you have the answer out. How can you write 5 as the sum of two perfect square? So it's 2 square plus 1 square. And what about 3? It's 2 square minus 1 square. You have the answer of x and y as 2 comma 1. So it's 2 raised to 4 plus 1 raised to 4. 16 plus 1, the answer is going to be 17. I mean, ideally, the only point of judgment that's going to come with some experience of writing previous year papers much and analyzing it in depth is whether 5 into 3 can come or 15 into 1 can come. This neglected. 5 plus 5 is the sum of two numbers, so it's going to be 4 and 1. And 4 minus 1 is going to give you 3. That's the only thing which we had to work on. Rest all is simple. So 2015 question also, we have solved it well. Is this clear to all of you? Everyone, is this clear? Okay, solve this question. For a Fibonacci series, from the third term onwards, each term in the sequence is the sum of the previous two terms in that sequence. If the difference in square of the seventh term and the sixth term of the sequence is 5 and 7, difference of square jahan bhi aa gaya, so it's always in the form of x plus y and x minus y. Consider this thing. Difference of square is also a category of question which I'll teach you next time. But whenever you get this, it's x plus y into x minus y. It's 5 and 7, and the question is find the 10th term in the sequence. I'll give you a minute to think, to make the sequence, and see if we can get the answer out. If not, after a minute, we'll start with the discussion. The hint is you start from the 7th and the 6th sequence term only. Don't start from the first term, second term. Some people term this as, will solve the question as, let's assume the first term is x, second term is y, third term is x plus y, fourth is x plus y, so x plus 2y, then x plus 2y plus x plus y, like this they go on. You don't have to start from there. I hope you get this. You don't have to start from the first term, because eventually the 10th term is the sum of 8th and 9th. The 9th is the sum of 7th and 8th, and 8th is sum of 6th and 7th. So if you start from 6th and 7th, you automatically will land up on 10 faster than starting the whole question from 1. That much is not required. So eventually, again, if you know the concept, even if you do not know the concept, it's going to take 1 minute. But less than that also, you can solve the question really very well. So it's f7 the whole square minus f6 the whole square is equal to 5 and 7. So it's basically f7 plus f6 into f7 minus f6 is equal to 5 and 7. Whenever you get this, you have to break 5 and 7 into the factors. It's visible to us, 5 and 7 is divisible by 11. How do you check a value is divisible by 7? Add the ordinate numbers and subtract from the middle number. I repeat, add the ordinate numbers and subtract from the middle number. 5 plus 7 is 12, 12 minus 1 is 11. Either it should be divisible by 11 or it should be 0. It is becoming 11. So it is divisible by 11. So if you multiply 11, 5 and 7 by 11 will give you 47. Will give you 47. So it is 47 into 11. So basically you got f7 plus f6 is equal to 47 and f7 minus f6 is equal to how much? 11. Just solve this part. So you will get 2f7 will be equal to 58 and the value of f7 will be equal to 29. If the value of f7 is 29, what is the value of f6? This should be 18. Clear, you have all the answers. Now, if you want to find f8, f8 is f7 plus f6, which is basically 29 plus 18. f9 is 29 plus 18 plus this is f8 and this is f7, which is 29. f10, f9 is 29 plus 18 plus 29 plus f8, which is 29 plus 18. What is the final answer? What is going to be the final answer? Hardik gave me the right answer. Everyone else, if you solve this, if you add this, the value is going to become 123. I mean, this is the most easiest and the sorted way in which you can solve this. Other way around also you can solve the question, but that's tedious and tedious. Nothing to do. First question, first term x, second term y, third term x plus y, fourth term x plus 2y. Next is x plus 2y plus x plus y. So it's 2x plus 5y. Then sixth term, then seventh term. Not required. Solving, and then you again you will do 7 minus 6 only, no? So consider it to be 7, f5, s7 and f6 only. You will be able to solve it faster and quicker. Clear? How do you check a value is divisible by 11? The powers of 11, I hope you know, 11, 121, 1331, 14641, like this. And this is nothing but a Pascal triangle that we have learned in our school. This is nothing but a Pascal triangle that we have learned in our school, right? The powers of 11, so you write 1 and 1 here. Next number will also have 1 and 1, 11 square, 11 cube, 11 raised to 4, 11 raised to 1. The extreme values is going to be 1 and 1. The middle value is going to be 1 plus 1, 2. Next 1 and 1, 1 plus 2, 3, 2 plus 1, 3, 1 here, 4, 6, 4, 1 goes on. Clear? So 1, 3, 3, 1. Add the ordinate numbers 1 plus 3, 3 plus 1. This is going to become 4 minus 4, which is 0. 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. 1 plus 6 plus 1, 4 and 4. 1 plus 6 plus 1 is 8. 4 minus 4 is 8. So it says the difference of sum of the ordinate numbers should be either 0 or 11 to check it for 11, to check the divisibility by 11. So 5 and 7, 5 plus 7 is 11, 5 plus 7 is 12, and 12 minus 1 is 11. So 11 is divisible by 11, so this value was divisible by 11. And the only part which we had to think of is taking out the factors of 47 into 11. Here onwards, it's easy and doable with all of us. Is this clear to all of you? Everyone, is this clear? Cool then. So we'll stop the session for today. In the next session, we'll solve the we'll go a level up. We'll solve questions which are based on, again, equations, polynomials, and progression. Yeah. All right then. I'll take a leave. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
We'll see you next time. Thank you. If in case, so we have been added you in the doubt solving group. I want all of you to take active participation there, because all the senior mentors are available there. They will help you out with all the concerns and doubts, question by question. And if in case you need something, please ping on the same group so that we can help you out with something else. Sure. Thank you so much, all of you. It was a pleasure talking to all of you.